How much money was it supposed to be?
100,000 on Dolph.
The Memphis police chief is asking everyone to stay home tonight after rapper Young Dolph is gunned down and killed at a South Memphis cookie shop.
That's one of the names already tied to Young Dolph, now caught on tape allegedly admitting he played a role in the hit. And the wild part is, he didn't know when to stop talking. He kept running his mouth, kept letting things spill, kept dropping names he probably shouldn't have even mentioned, and even hinted that Yo Gotti had an alleged role in how the whole situation was set up, which sent instant shockwaves through the streets. According to whispers moving fast behind closed doors, there's a whole list of people connected to this mess, and that list is way longer than anyone expected at first. The streets aren't clapping for him either, not even close. And now he's reportedly forced to stay on high alert every single day, because once certain lines get crossed, there's no rewind button and no walking it back.
Who had a hit on whose head?
He just had a hit on Dolph head or whatnot.
How much money was it supposed to be?
100,000 on Dolph head.
Memphis, Tennessee has always been heavy on loyalty, respect, and remembering who stayed solid and who folded under pressure. Even for a city that's seen its share of chaos, nothing really prepared people for what happened on that cold November day in 2021. This wasn't just another headline to scroll past or a rumor that fades in a week. This was a targeted attack that shook the entire city and left a deep scar on the local music scene. The loss hit different because this wasn't only about rap. It was about identity, pride, and a self-made figure who represented winning without begging anyone for approval. Young Dolph's death wasn't some random argument that spiraled out of control or a wrong place, wrong time situation. This ran deeper, the kind of tension that had people whispering quietly long before shots ever rang out.
Tonight, we strongly encourage everyone to stay home if you do not have to be out.
On November 17th, 2021, the 36-year-old artist, born Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., was shot and killed in broad daylight at Makeda's homemade butter cookies, a neighborhood spot he regularly visited for his favorite treats. No darkness, no hidden corners, just daylight, cameras everywhere, and a total disregard for the consequences that were guaranteed to follow. Dolph wasn't just another rapper chasing attention or clout. He was a Memphis pillar, a self-built boss, who turned paper route empire into a real movement without bending the knee to anyone or playing industry games. That is exactly why this hit felt so different to people watching from the outside and living it inside the city. Reports say the attackers fired 22 shots, and that number alone told the streets this wasn't random, emotional, or sloppy. That was calculated, loud, and meant to send a message far beyond that parking lot. Security footage showed two masked men pulling up in a white Mercedes.
That's your Gap hoodie, is that right?
It's me.
That's you, who you shooting at?
Young Dolph.
Alright, now back it up again.
Jumping out and opening fire while Dolph was simply grabbing cookies like it was any normal day. When it was done, they sped off like it was business as usual, leaving Memphis in shock and demanding answers immediately. Law enforcement moved fast, locking in and making arrests within months. Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith were accused of being the shooters. Hernandez Govan was named as the alleged organizer, and Yamarcus Johnson was accused of helping with the escape and money collection afterward. But anyone who understands street politics knows this story feels way bigger than court documents and charge sheets. Arrests were made and names were filed, but the same question keeps hanging heavy in the air. Who really wanted Young Dolph gone, and what kind of pressure built up behind the scenes to make this moment explode the way it did? To really understand how ugly this situation became, you have to rewind and dig into one of the messiest rivalries Memphis rap has ever seen, because none of this started overnight. Dolph and Yo Gotti's situation was never some goofy online back and forth or a couple slick bars thrown around for promo. This was personal, long-term, and rooted deep in pride, money, and street politics that left real scars across Memphis. From the jump, this wasn't entertainment for fans. It was pressure behind the scenes, the kind that sits heavy and makes every move feel tense. People around them felt it too, because when their names came up in the same sentence, the energy shifted fast, like everybody knew something ugly could spark at any moment. This feud stretched back years and pulled in crews, record labels, and dangerous street energy that went way beyond music talk. It came with real-life consequences, the type that made people on both sides stay alert at all times. watching who they stood next to and where they moved. Anytime Dolph and Gotti were mentioned together, the tension thickened instantly. Like the air itself knew this wasn't just rap beef. It wasn't fun, it wasn't playful, it was stress, and the city felt every bit of it. The roots of it all trace back to around 2014, when Young Dolph was on the rise and making serious noise with his independent grind, was moving different, stacking wins without major label strings attached, and building a name as his own boss. At the same time, Yo Gotti, whose real name is Mario Mims, was already a major force in Memphis, running CMG and holding real weight in the industry. Allegedly, Gotti tried to sign Dolph, and on paper it looked like a solid business move, a veteran pulling in a fast-rising star. But Dolph wasn't feeling that offer at all. He already had his own vision, his own brand, and his own paper route empire, and he wasn't about to let anyone else steer his direction or control his moves. He wanted full ownership, full control, and full respect, making money his way without answering to anybody. That's real boss mentality, and even people who didn't T-Rock with Dolph heavy still had to respect how firm he stood on that decision. According to Dolph, that rejection flipped the entire dynamic instantly. He claimed Gotti went from showing love to showing hostility almost overnight, and the vibe never recovered after that. In 2016, Dolph even posted online saying he went from being someone's #1 fan to their biggest hater, and that single line said everything without saying too much. When pride and business collide in the streets, especially with money and reputation involved, things can heat up fast and stay hot. The tension didn't stay quiet either. Both sides started trading subliminal shots through their music, and it didn't take long before it turned personal. In 2016, Dolph dropped King of Memphis, a bold title that challenged Gotti's long-standing status in the city. Heads snapped instantly, and the message was loud and clear. Things escalated even more when Dolph followed up with a track that took direct aim at Gotti's image, paired with visuals many people saw as straight disrespect. The song, the visuals, and even the cover art poured gasoline on an already burning situation. When public embarrassment mixes with deep street ties and real influence, the consequences can spiral fast. What started as a rap rivalry slowly shifted into something much darker, because in Memphis, disrespect doesn't stay on wax forever. Memphis is built on loyalty, territory, and pride, and disrespect doesn't just live inside a song or a flashy video there. When names get dragged, reputations are tested in real life, not just online. In a city like Memphis, diss records hit different, especially when people have loyal crews, deep roots, and serious pride to protect. When someone feels their name is getting smeared publicly, that tension doesn't fade. It sits, it brews, and it waits for the wrong moment to explode. There's always that risk that somebody decides to handle things their own way instead of letting it stay on wax. Sadly, that line got crossed more than once in this saga, setting the stage for moments that would change Memphis forever. That incident went down in February 2017 during the CIA tournament in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it instantly sent shockwaves through the streets. On February 25th, Young Dolph was riding in his SUV when it was suddenly sprayed with over 100 bullets in what looked like a highly coordinated ambush. This wasn't random chaos or reckless firing. This looked calculated, deliberate, and meant to end one very specific way. The level of planning alone made it clear this was no warning shot. This was an attempt to erase him completely. The attack happened in broad daylight, which made it even more chilling to people watching it unfold later. Somehow, Dolph survived, and people immediately started calling it nothing short of a miracle. The only reason he lived was because he had invested in a bulletproof vehicle, showing just how aware he already was of the danger circling him at that point in time. Even after surviving something that extreme, the message was loud and clear. Somebody out there genuinely wanted him gone, no hesitation. But the chaos didn't stop there, not even close. Just 7 months later, in September 2017, Dolph was targeted again, this time in Los Angeles, outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel. He was critically injured and reportedly fighting just to stay alive afterward. Rumors spread fast online, and Yo Gotti's name briefly came up because he happened to be staying at the same hotel at the time. Police quickly confirmed he was not a suspect, but by then, the internet was already on fire and speculation was running wild. One of Gotti's associates, Corey McClendon, was later arrested and charged with attempted murder in connection to that shooting. Just like before, though, the case didn't stick and he eventually walked free. Another close call, another unanswered question, and another layer added to an already dangerous and messy rivalry that refused to cool down. Fast forward to what many people had been waiting on, the trial itself. Nearly 3 years after Young Dolph lost his life, the case against Justin Johnson finally went to court in September 2024. The entire city of Memphis was locked in, watching every move closely. This wasn't just another crime trial, this was a case that had the potential to shake the music industry and pull back the curtain on the Memphis rap scene. Johnson faced extremely serious charges, including first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and illegal possession of a firearm. If convicted, he was looking at spending the rest of his life behind bars, no debate at all. Everybody understood the weight of this moment. This trial wasn't just about one defendant, it was about truth, accountability, and legacy. The prosecution, led by Shelby County Assistant District Attorney Paul Hagerman, came prepared and aggressive. They presented surveillance footage showing 2 masked men stepping out of a white Mercedes and opening fire while Dolph was inside the cookie shop. Phone records placed Johnson and his co-defendants near the scene, and ballistic evidence allegedly tied the weapons back to the suspects. But what really flipped the entire case upside down was the testimony from Cornelius Smith himself. He chose to cooperate, hoping for leniency, and once he started talking, the courtroom energy completely changed. Cornelius Smith's testimony was explosive and immediately shifted everything. He didn't just admit to playing a role in what happened to Young Dolph, started naming names and suggesting the plan reached much higher than just 2 local guys with a grudge. His words pulled the story out of street rumors and into something much bigger, something that pointed toward people with influence and money, according to what came out in court. The incident, according to Smith, wasn't random violence or a simple argument gone wrong. He claimed the entire plan was allegedly ordered by Anthony Big Juke, who happens to be Yo Gotti's older brother and a well-known figure around the CMG circle. That statement alone shook the courtroom and instantly set social media on fire. Smith told the court that Big Juke supposedly offered $100,000 to get the job done, a massive amount tied to one of Memphis's most respected rap figures. According to testimony, that money was meant to be split up, but Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith allegedly promised around $40,000 each, while Hernandez Govan was said to receive $20,000 for organizing the operation. Smith even claimed that he and Johnson met with Big Juke in the weeks leading up to the incident to talk through how everything would supposedly happen. He went on to say that after the attack, he and Johnson allegedly FaceTimed Big Juke to confirm the job was done, a detail that left the courtroom stunned and people online shocked. Things took another wild turn when Smith claimed someone connected to CMG later paid $50,000 toward his legal fees. After his arrest in January 2022, Smith testified that he couldn't say exactly who sent the money, but he believed it came from someone tied to CMG. He suggested the payment may have been meant to help or protect those allegedly involved, raising even more questions about how deep this situation really went. If any of those claims held weight, it pointed to something much bigger than one bad decision. But that's where everything got complicated. Justin Johnson's defense attorney, Luke Evans, pushed back hard, attacking Smith's credibility and challenging his entire story. Evans argued that Smith was twisting facts or outright making things up to secure a lighter deal. He pointed to a letter Smith allegedly wrote from jail to his family, where he supposedly admitted he would say anything to avoid spending the rest of his life behind bars. If that letter was real, it cast a serious shadow over Smith's testimony. That raised the big question: was Smith telling the truth, or was he saying exactly what prosecutors wanted to hear to save himself? Evans didn't let up, pressing every inconsistency, especially when it came to the money. Smith testified he was promised $40,000, but later admitted he only received about $800 total, $500 up front and $300 later. That gap was massive, and Evans used it to argue that Smith's story didn't add up at all. He painted Smith as desperate, willing to say whatever it took just to walk free. Still, despite all the doubts, contradictions, and courtroom battles, the jury sided with the prosecution on September 26, 2024. Justin Straight Drop Johnson was found guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and illegal possession of a firearm, after the jury reviewed all the evidence presented. The jury said they had seen enough, including surveillance videos, phone records, Cornelius Smith's explosive testimony, and they didn't hesitate with their decision. Justin Johnson was sentenced to life in prison, which in Memphis means at least 51 years before he's even eligible for release. I think that's not a light sentence. That's a lifetime behind concrete walls. No shortcuts, no early exit. Johnson is around 30 years old right now, so even if he somehow made it to eligibility, he wouldn't see daylight until he's about 81 years old. By then, life, as he once knew it, would be long gone, meaning his days of moving free are basically over for good. But even with Johnson's conviction locked in, here's where things get strange. Because the details around that alleged payment are still super murky. There's no solid paperwork, no clear receipts, and no public proof showing where that money actually came from, or if it was even fully paid at all. And in a city like Memphis, where communities are tight and people protect their own, it wouldn't be shocking if friends, associates, or extended connections chipped in for legal help. Especially if there's fear that someone under pressure might fold and start talking. So while Smith's claim definitely poured gasoline on the fire, there's also a chance the reality behind it is simpler than it sounds. Maybe it was loyalty, maybe fear, maybe people just trying to keep someone quiet and out of panic mode. Another major question comes from the insane gap between the alleged $100,000 Big Juke was said to have offered and the $800 Smith claims he actually received. That's not a small mix-up, that's a jaw-dropping difference. Less than 1% of what was supposedly promised. If someone was told they'd get $40,000 for something that dangerous and only ended up with $800, you'd expect serious tension, maybe even retaliation, or at the very least a refusal to protect anyone involved. But instead, Smith cooperated with authorities and testified, all while saying he got completely shorted. That alone raises a massive question. Why would the people who allegedly had access to $100,000 for the hit and later $50,000 for legal help suddenly turn around and barely pay the people who carried it out? It just doesn't add up clean. One possible explanation is that the $100,000 figure was exaggerated from the jump. So maybe it was never that high, or maybe it was just street talk meant to hype up the plan and make it sound bigger than it really was. Another theory is that the money was supposed to come later, but never did. Maybe Big Juke's death in 2024 threw everything into chaos? Or maybe moving large amounts of money after something like that? Would VA created a paper trail nobody wanted? Whatever the truth is, the idea that Smith only walked away with $800 makes this feel less like some high-level, polished operation and more like a sloppy street move that spiraled way out of control. If this had really been a clean, carefully planned hit, you'd expect smoother execution and people actually getting paid what they were promised. But instead, everything looks rushed, messy, and poorly handled. That chaos is exactly what makes people question whether CMG's involvement was really as deep or official as it's been made to sound. Then came another tragedy that pushed this story into even darker territory. On January 20th, 2024, Big Juke was killed, adding another shocking loss to an already tangled situation. Reports say Big Juke was shot outside a restaurant during a repass, a meal held after a funeral, and heartbreakingly, his own mother was reportedly there and witnessed it happen. Another person was also hit during the shooting, even with police offering a $4,000 reward for information. No arrests have been made, and that case remains unsolved to this day. The timing of Big Juke's death, coming just 2 years after Young Dolph's murder and right when whispers about his alleged role were spreading, had Memphis talking heavy. Many started wondering if this was some form of street justice. It's possibly carried out by people connected to Dolph's camp or paper route empire. What Big Juke's death really did was remove one of the most important voices that could have helped uncover the full truth. If he truly ordered the hit, he likely knew exactly who else was involved or who might have known about it. Did he ever speak to his brother about it? Did anyone else in CMG leadership know what was going on? Or was he acting completely on his own, driven by loyalty and a desire to protect his brother's name? Those questions might never get answers now. With Big Juke gone, whatever truth he held may be gone with him, silenced forever. A potential key figure who could have clarified how deep this really went is no longer here. Every new twist just makes this story heavier, more painful, and more frustrating for everyone still searching for real answers. And beyond this single case, Young Dolph's murder forces a much bigger and uncomfortable conversation: the dangerous line between rap, street culture, and real-life violence. Hip-hop has always carried raw energy, pride, competition, and lyrical battles. That tension is part of the culture's DNA. But when that energy leaves the booth and spills into the streets, when ego and reputation turn into real-world pressure, that's when the game stops being music and turns deadly.